grooms at contemporary weddings normally show up at the church or the registry office about 40 minutes before the appointed time. They look slightly uncomfortable in their stylish suits. There's usually a whiff of whiskey or a lingering lager scent. They're polite, chatty, and anxious. Even up to the 20th century in Palestine, at a middle-class wedding, it was possible to catch the bridal party napping at midnight. The bridegroom would arrive unexpectedly, sometimes in the middle of the night. Nobody was allowed on the streets after dark without a lighted lamp. Once the bridegroom arrived and the door was shut, latecomers to the ceremony were not admitted. Today, we're living in a society where consumerism is driving everything. It's driving everything to become instant. And our minds are devouring it like a 6-year-old with a tub of ice cream. Emer the Screamer is a correspondent with the Sunday Business Post magazine. In an engaging article last week, Emer described how online shopping became a real source of comfort for people during the first lockdown. Lockdown 1 was a boon for Amazon, which can sell you almost anything and usually get it to you with improbable speed. Emer described the power of Instagram ads and how this power reached a peak when she cracked and ordered a Shakiti mat. According to Emer, a Shakiti mat is an acupressure tool covered in tiny plastic needles. You lie on it and it solves all your problems and it brings world peace. Many colleagues of Emer revealed discreetly to her that during lockdown that they had completed the holy trinity of Instagram lockdown purchases: the mat, a wheat-coloured adult baby grow, and the Shakiti's spiritual cousin, the weighted blanket. Technology is evolving at a very fast rate, and we're seeing everything become accessible with a touch of a button or using new voice technology. Just a simple voice command such as, "Alexa, how do you spell Ouagadougou?" A podcast called Creep Dive can draw 250 people to a Zoom meeting on a Thursday night to hear horrific, violent, and eerie stories from around the world. The hosts, Irish-based, argue that no one here is really interested in the facts. We're here for the journey. Cassie Delaney argues that there's something intangible and mind-blowing about the Creep Dive that has made it successful, and we can't quite put our finger on it. As a schoolboy, I learned a line from Shakespeare that readiness is all. Later in life, I read from a Spanish Jesuit that readiness is the mother of luck. The 10 bridesmaids out late at night seem particularly quaint to modern listeners. 5 seem particularly unready, and 5 unwilling to share. Would things have been different for these 5 foolish bridesmaids if they stayed with the light of their friends and trusted the bridegroom to be gracious and understanding of them. Though 2020 is an American election year, and more than ever the USA resembles a schism nation, it is to the 2008 American election that I look to draw inspiration when Obama, on election night, in his speech said, "This is our moment, this is our time." We live in a particularly troublesome time, a time where facts are often perceived as unimportant, pandemic times, a time where technology is evolving at an overwhelmingly fast rate, a time when consumerism is driving everything to become instant, a time where urgency and instant are prioritized ways of being. The parable of the 10 bridesmaids is about the challenge of being ready to take up discipleship with Jesus before the dire consequences begin to pile up. This is our time. This is our chance to get on board with God's agenda. The American professional footballer Ralph Marston once remarked that success requires both urgency and patience. Urgent about making the effort and patience about seeing the results. This is the essence of today's parable. Be ready for intentional discipleship and be patient about the fruits. The emphasis on alertness and readiness compels us to 3 actions. First, prepare yourself patiently for the emergence of God's kingdom. Secondly, focus your imagination on the abundant generosity of the one who empowers and gives growth. Thirdly, live with a watchfulness and attentiveness to those who might be left outside, those who might be thrown out, those who might be left behind. Life's most persistent, urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Our scriptures and the pandemic reveal an important imperative, namely that maybe every once in a while we can take a break from doing everything faster and quicker to reflect on who we are and where we are going. I love the observation of the German spiritual writer Eckhart Tolle that in today's rush, we all think too much, seek too much, want too much, and forget about the joy of just being. The Shakti mat and its spiritual cousin, the weighted blanket, have their own charm. The Creep Dive podcast seems to have an intangible quality. Jesus, the bridegroom, invites and includes and exudes a generosity absent in the groom central to the parable. Jesus, the bridegroom, is gracious and understanding and is open to those who've made mistakes. He comes to forgive us and feed us, even the morning after the wedding. This is our time. Amen.